Hey everyone, today we're going to start a new session for Jestor for beginners, and we are going to talk about forms. So we are going to show you the basics of creating a form, setting up your form, creating an update form, changing fields, customization for your form cover, colors, field behavior, and field style. All those things we are going to discuss today. We're going to also show you how to create a public form and answer any kind of questions or requests that you may have regarding forms today. So the idea here is for you that are starting using Jestor, you don't know how to use the tools, or you just want to learn what are the possibilities of the Jestor form, for example. So Cruz, how should we start here? Should we create a form from scratch? What do you want to show first?
Yeah, I think the best way to go about this is to create a table with some example fields. We could also create the form from scratch and create the table from the form itself, but I think it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on if you start by creating the table, and then later we can get into all the details, all the other possibilities of creating stuff in Gesture.
Yeah, what we
One
should do, maybe we could use a table that already exists, because then we can spend more time showing the form itself, and then we can add like one or two fields using the form.
Cool. Yeah, we could do that. So let me see if I have a good.
If we don't have one,
Uh,
we can ask the AI to build one, maybe.
yeah, sure. But we have one that we could use here for projects. So we have a template here, and I'm going to use the table from the template itself. But one thing that I want uh, to talk about before we start building stuff is that when we talk about forms in Gesture, we're talking about many different things, right? Because in other platforms, when you talk about forms, usually you're talking about public forms, right? So you want to create a form to create records in a table, in a database, in a Kanban board, and so on. And in Gesture, you have the public form, you have the specific component of a form, like a standalone form, if you will. So we're going to talk about this. This is going to be the first thing that we're going to build. But also in Gesture, you can use forms as other kinds of things. So when I talk about forms in Gesture, yes, I'm talking about the standalone forms, the public forms, and so on. But I'm also talking about the panels and windows inside the platform. So in this example, I'm showing you guys my screen. We have a project template. And when I open a card here, when I open a record, you can see here on the left side, this left panel, this is also a form in Gesture, right? So when you open a card, this is also a form. And when you're trying to create a new card, here in this button, this right side panel here, this is also considered a form, right? So forms are not only public forms, standalone forms, but they're also the windows, the panels inside the platform that you can use to interact with data, create data, and so on. And we're going to talk about these as well. We're going to talk about standalone forms at first because it's a simpler concept and the one that people are most familiar with. But we're going to show you guys that it's also possible to customize these records, and these are also considered forms, right? Okay, so we have this template here. So this is a project template. I have a Kanban board. I have a dashboard here, a project history. Oh, here you go. I have the dashboard here on the left side, and so on. So this is a very standard template. You can look at this and know exactly what's going on, right? And this is the database of the project. It's called Projects Livestream because it's a little bit easier to find if I give it a more specific title, a more specific name. So you can see that I have here a database with some fields, right? I have a project name, which is a title field. I have a description, which is a text field. And it's rich text format, so I can create like bullet points, italicized, bold, and so on. I have a single option field for the stage of the project. I have a project that's planned, in progress, done, and so on. I have another single option field for the priority. I have a attachment field for files, and I have a color field. And this color field basically allows me to add this title highlight in Kanban boards, right? So this is the database itself, right? So we're going to use this one. You could create a table from scratch to use for the form, but we're going to use this one because it's already created. It's a little bit easier, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here on this create new tools here on the upper right corner. And I'm going to click here on new blank form, right? So this is going to create basically an app page with a form already created in it. So all I have to do is edit the form. But also I could create a blank app page and then create a form component. But if all you're trying to do is create a form, the quickest way to do this is click here on create new tool and select new blank form, and this already created a form for me, right? You can see that it has example information and so on. Okay, so I'm going to call this project form live stream. And you can see that this is a form for submitting information. One other thing, in Jestor, you can use forms to submit new information or to update existing information, right? You can update pre-existing records. We're going to show you guys how to do this later. Okay, so the form was created. I'm going to click here on edit, and I'm going to edit this form component, right? So the form has a name for the component itself. It's not going to appear on the interface. This is only for identification purposes. I'm not going to change this, but you could if you wanted to. You have a title and a description, which is this top part here, right? So I'm going to change the title, and it's going to reflect on the screen, and it's going to be pretty apparent what it does, right? So the custom title is going to be a new project, and this is already updating the form itself here. And the description is I'm going to change this to use this form to submit a new project. There you go.
It's important to say that sometimes people get confused that the name is the internal name for the form. We may even change the label there for that. And the title is actually the title is going to show up on your form. So there's a difference there. Like sometimes they try to type like in the name like new project, and it doesn't change anything there on the left. And then they think it's not working or stuff like this. It's not because of that. We have an internal name and a title because sometimes you have many forms for the same app or for different blocks and so on. That's why you should have a name that you know which form are you talking or trying to connect inside an app. So it's kind of simple, but it's important to just have this distinction. And one thing that we could do today, Fernando, maybe we could only talk about the creation form, and another time we can talk about the update form, because as Cruz was showing a few minutes ago, when you open a card, that's also a form, but it's an update form. And usually when we talk about forms, people are thinking about the creation form. So it's creating a new lead or a new request or anything like this. So today we're only going to talk about creation of new records or new cards. And in another session, we are going to talk about update form. So we are going to talk today a little bit more about this first steps of configuration as Cruz is doing right now. And we are also, if we have time, we are going to show you how to change styles, use the form blocks, and so on.
Exactly. So we can break this into separate live streams. But cool, let's move on. We have the title and the description. I've changed these so you can see it's already reflecting here. And I also have a cover and a logo. So I'm going to get some images here just to show you guys what it looks like when you add a title and a logo here. So let me get an image here. There you go. And basically, this is going to add some images here on specific parts of the form, right? So I got a cover. So I'm going to just drag and drop this here. Oops, it's not going. There you go. So you can see that I'm adding a cover here, and it's going to show this image up here, and I'm going to get a logo as well. So I'm going to get a random company logo here. So let's get Nike, for example. So just a second, I'm copying. There you go. So I'm going to add a logo here. And you guys are going to see that the logo is going to appear here right next to the title, right? There you go. So this is how it looks like when you use covers and logos. I'm going to save it like this, just so you guys know how it looks like. I can remove this later. Okay, so I have the title, I have the cover and the logo. And then the first thing that I have to select here is which table is this form sending information to. So when you create, for example, a form in Google Forms, usually this form is connected to a spreadsheet. So when you submit information through the form, this is going to create a row in the spreadsheet. So it's kind of like the same logic here, only instead of a spreadsheet, I'm talking about databases. So basically I have to say to which database, to which table am I sending this information? And so what we're going to select here is the project's live stream table, which is this one, right? So when I submit the form, I'm going to send information here. And now you can see that it's reflecting here. So it's saying this form has no fields because I haven't selected which fields of information I want to use here. So I could use all, or I could just use some of them, right? I don't have to submit all the information at once. So let's select the project name, the description, and you can see that as I'm selecting the fields, they're already appearing here on the left. I have the priority, I have the stage, I have attachments, and I have the start and end date. There you go. And the owners. There you go. So I have some more information here, and you can see all the fields here. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, right? I just selected the fields of information that I want to submit information. They appear in the order that I selected them, but if I wanted to, I could just drag and drop, and this is going to rearrange the information here. So this is already looking nice. Okay, so this is already a functional form if you look at it. But there are some other things that we can do regarding style, regarding functionalities, and so on. So first of all, if I hover my cursor here on the right side panel over the fields, you are going to see that there's this icon here, which is a little pencil or pen, and this is the edit icon. And if I edit one of these fields, let's go with project name at first, you can see that I can change the name of the field. And this is because maybe here on the database, I want this to be called project name, but there on the form, I want this to be project title, for example. So I can change this without changing the field name in the database itself. And I can also add a description. So I can do something like, this is the name of the project. Oh, I can go with, this is a short description of the project. Okay, so some other things that I can set here, I can set a field for as read only. This kind of only makes sense if you're using update forms, right? So I'm going to skip this for now, but just so you guys know that there is this possibility. And I can also make the field required. So before submitting the form, the person has to fill out this field, right? So let's leave it at this for now. Okay, so I'm going to click here on save, and you can see that this changes the field itself. So the name changed to project title. I have description, and this red asterisk here basically means that this is required. So I cannot submit the form unless I add a project title, right? So I probably have some other ones here. Edit. Okay. So if I click on save, would allow me to send the form. Okay. So let's keep going to some other fields here. So description, I'm going to add a new description here. So more information about project. And I can also do something like add a predefined value. So what is this? This means that when the person opens the form, there's already going to be information on that field. It could be a template of how they should fill out the information. In the case of stages, we're going to talk about this. You can send it to a specific stage. So in the description, for example, I'm going to add a predefined value of, for example, name, team, what's expected as an outcome, and you can kind of have this template of information here so the person knows how they should fill out the information. So there you go, and you can see that this is basically what I just set up, right? Okay, cool. So now let's talk about the both of these were text fields, right? So the title and the description. And now we go to the next one, which is priority. And priority is a cool field to talk about because it's a single option field. And if I click here on the edit button, you're going to see that we have some more informations regarding style, right? So the single option fields and some other fields as well, for example, the tag fields and so on, you can change the appearance of the options, right? So right now it's one that we call standard horizontal. So you can see that they're kind of like options right next to each other, and they have the colors from the field itself. But we can change this to, for example, standard, and this is going to be just the drop-down menu, right? This is more traditional of a single option field. And we have some other options just to show you guys. We have standard vertical, which is going to be kind of like the other one, but instead of horizontal, it's going to be vertical. We have radio options. So we have radio vertical, for example. So you have this sort of appearance. We have radio horizontal as well. And finally, we have button-like settings, right? So it's going to look like this. So the person can select one of these options. It's kind of like a button. For priority, I actually prefer to have the standard horizontal. I think it makes more sense. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to make it required. There you go. So I have the priority here, and it's required, and it has this appearance. I'm going to talk about stage for last, so I'm going to just leave it all the way down there. So I have attachments is also going to be one of the last stages. So now we have start date and end date. These are date fields. And this is a good moment to talk about form blocks instead of form fields. So you can see that all of these are fields, right? These are fields of information that I'm going to send information, and it's going to feed into this database. But not only do we have fields here, we also have what we call form blocks. And form blocks are things that are not fields of information, but they are things that add features, functionalities, usability, customizations to the form itself. So what do I mean by that? Let's click here and let's see the kind of form blocks we have. We have form blocks for adding information to connected tables. We're not going to use this one today, but we can talk about this later. We have sections, which are just like ways of grouping information, and so on. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over all of them, but I'm going to use the inline. The inline block allows me to make it so there's more than one field in the same row, in the same line, right? So this is going to make allow me to make better use of the space that I have in the form, because as you can see here, I have the start date and the end date, and these are very concise types of information, right? So I don't need to have one field per row, right? So I can just click here on add block, inline, and then what I have to do is make it so the start of the inline and the end of the inline are grouping the start date and the end date here. So there you go. You can see that now the start date and the end date are right next to each other. I could, for example, add owners here, and owners would be right next to them as well. But I'm going to leave owners out, right? So we're going to make the start date and the end date be required as well. Okay, owners is basically who's responsible for that project. I'm going to leave it optional, and there's no styling here. And we have the attachments field, which also we have no style, but I can make it required, and so on. Okay, so now let's talk about the stage field before I go over all the form blocks that we have. So we have the stage here, right? So this is the field, and this is used as the columns for the Kanban board, right? And one thing that I want here is that when someone creates a new project, I don't want them to create a new project. Maybe I don't want them to create in done, for example. I only want them to create them in planned or in progress, or I want them to create in project straight into planned, right? And we can do this by customizing the stage field. So first of all, I can change the options. So for example, when someone is creating a new project, I don't want them to create projects in done or archived. So I can change the available options, and you can see here that I can just provide them with two of the options, right? So I don't have to give them all the options at once. But maybe I don't want them to create in progress as well. Maybe I want them to create straight into planned, right? So let's edit this, and we're going to make use of the predefined value and the hide this field options, right? So predefined value, we've already talked about this. When I select this, I can select a predefined value for the field. So when the person opens the form, one of the options is already pre-selected, right? So this is what this does. But it's pre-selected, but they can change this by clicking on these options. So one thing that I can do here is hide the field. So now the field is not on the form anymore. They cannot change it through the interface, but it exists and it's pre-selected as planned, right? So when the person submits the form, the record is going to be created straight into the planned stage, right? So there are a lot of other options that we have here, but I'm going to pause for now. We're going to save all that we've done here.
Just a comment, like another thing that you could do is to pre-select a field and make it read only. So you're showing the person that it's going to create the record, the request, whatever, with that information. So for example, Maybe you have a special link for requests from HR, and you want to show the person that's actually is going to go to the HR team. You can do this in a way that they cannot change, like as Fernando was showing, but you're showing the information anyway. So there are many ways that you can combine these powers to create the best form as possible for a process.
Exactly. I'm going to show this. This is a nice suggestion, and I think that people are don't realize they can do this. So I'm going to do this as well. But what I want to do here is just submit this form so you guys can see what's going on here. So how it's connected to the database. So I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to call this plan live stream, for example. So name. Plan live stream. Team is going to be the marketing team, and what's expected, we should have at least 5 live streams planned by the end of the week. Okay, so I have the description. I'm going to set a priority. This is going to medium. I'm going to add a start date and an end date here. So now I can submit the form because all of the required fields are already filled out. I'm going to add an owner here, myself. And you can see that I don't have the stage field appearing here, but it's on the form, it's pre-selected as planned, right? So I'm going to submit this. There you go. So if I go here to the database, you can see that it's already showing the record. It created the record that I've just sent, right? So let's go here. Let's open the record. And you can see here that it has the name that I said, the range, the owner, and so on. And the stage is planned because I set up so it doesn't appear to the person, but it's filled beforehand. And like Manon said, you can make it so the field is read-only, for example, and pre-selected, for example. So instead of hiding, I'm going to make it read-only, and I'm going to save. There you go. So you can see here that it's showing that it's going to go to the plan stage, but if I click on in progress, I cannot change the value. I can only see that it's going to plan, right? Okay, perfect. We went over the fields. So now let's talk a little bit about the blocks. I've already used a block inline to show you guys what they are. They are things that change the functionalities, the usability of the form itself. So for example, let's go over them. Section is going to group some information here. I'm going to create one. New page is going to add pagination to the form. So maybe you want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. You can use them. I'm going to use them as well. Long text is only going to show a text, so maybe a instructions and so on. You have images and videos. So these are kind of like self-explanatory. So you're just going to add images or videos to the form. So for example, if you have a recruiting form, maybe you have an institutional video talking about your company or talking about the recruiting process and so on. So you could add those as well, right? So I'm just going to add 2 of them here, the section. So I'm going to create a section and I'm going to call this, for example, main info. So the description is information about the project. And I'm going to create this section. And just like I did with the inline, what I have to do is show where the section starts. So it's going to start all the way up here to the top and where it ends. So for example, it ends right after priority. So you can see here that I have some lines and I have this section. It's grouping project title, it's grouping the description, priority, and so on, right? So The other thing that I can add here is pagination. So I'm going to create a new block of new page, and I have to say where the new page begins. So it's right after the section. And now you can see here that I have 2 pages in this form, right? So let's just use this so you guys can see what it looks like. So I have the title, so example, priority, and then after I fill out all of the required information, I can go to the next page. There you go. So I could have like 10 pages, as many as I wanted to, right? Cool. So these are the blocks. They are not fields of information, but they can add functionalities to your form, right? So let's go to the next part, and now we have the form tools. We have conditionals, and I'm going to do a very simple conditional here. Conditionals are going to do things to the fields themselves based on what the person filling out the form is doing. You can, for example, hide fields. You can make fields appear. You can make fields required or optional. You can make them read only. You have a lot of different options. So, for example, one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so the description is not a default field. A default field means they always appear from the start. So I'm going to remove this. And you can see that the description is not appearing anymore. And I'm going to add a condition. And I'm going to call this condition show description. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show the description field, right? So I have some options here. You can see that I have different kinds of actions. I'm going to show this description field when the priority is medium or high, right? So this is one example of a conditional that I could do, right? So let's save. There you go. So now you can see that I don't have the description field. If I click on low, I still don't have a description field. But if I click on medium or high, the description field appears in the form. So these are conditionals. Like I said before, you can make fields show, hide, be required, optional, or make them read only based on conditions. So this is pretty useful to guide people on filling out a form, right? So there's a lot that you can do with this, but I'm not going to spend too much time here because mainly the way to set up conditions is the same regardless of the conditional that you're using, right? So let's go to the next form tool, which is form responses. So form responses is basically a setting for allowing people to receive a copy of what they submitted, right, by email. So for example, if you had a recruiting form, you may want to leave this on. So when the person submits an application to a job opening, they receive a copy of all the information that they submitted, right? So, or for a reimbursement request form, you can send the person submitting the request a copy of the information that they sent. And this is useful for providing proof that they submitted the form at a specific time, but it can also be useful so they can prove that they submitted specific bits of information, right? So for example, in a reimbursement request, they have to type the amount that they want to be reimbursed, and they receive a copy of the amount they submitted. So later on, if someone changes the information, they can show proof that they submitted a specific value, right? So this is what this setting does. Basically, it allows a person to receive a copy of the information. And this works whether this is a public form or an internal form, right? So if it's a public form, the platform is going to ask for the person's email if they want a copy. I'm going to leave this on just to show you guys how it works. But this is what it does, right? And I also have the success page. So when I submit a form, I can customize the information that's going to appear there, right? So I can submit, instead of showing the default message, I can show something like, thank you for submitting a new project. So this is the information that's going to appear to the person when they submit information through the form. I can also, instead of showing a success message, I can redirect them to a specific link, right? So for example, maybe you want to redirect them to your website. So after they submit the form, they're going to be sent to this URL. You can also do this, right? This is specifically useful for public forms, right? Usually when you have a public form, you want to send the person to a different page afterwards. And you can also submit the button label, which is right now it's next, right? So I'm going to remove the pagination, just show you guys. So right now it's submit. I can customize this so it says, for example, create. And I can also add, for example, an emoji here. So there you go. So you can customize these interface components as well, right? And I can also toggle this off if I don't want the person to be able to submit a new response afterwards, right? Because I'm going to remove the redirect here. I'm going to save this. So just show you guys example, start date, and there you go. I'm going to click here on create, and you can see here that I have the custom message, and I can disable this send new response button, right? So I can also toggle that off. There you go. So we're almost to the end of it for the creation form. We're not going to talk about update record forms in this live stream today. We're going to leave this for a separate live stream. And now we finally go to styles, right? So transparent background works if you have an image or a different color under the form, right? So we don't have it, so it's not going to make a lot of difference. But first of all, you have the colors. So you can customize 3 colors in the form. The first one is the background color of the form itself. So you can see it's the body of the form, right? So maybe I want it all black and so on, or maybe I want it all white. And you can customize this as well, right? I'm going to leave it white. You also have the button color. So right now it's black, but I can change the color as well. So if I change the color, you can see here that it's changing, right? So I can customize the color, the background of the body of the form itself, and I can also customize the color of the title here. So for example, I can make it the same color as the body, but I could also make it black. I'm not going to do black here because it makes the logo disappear, but I can leave it like a lighter gray or so on. So usually, yeah, I think gray looks the best here. So I can customize these colors, right? Background blur would work if I had a background image in the app itself. We don't have it here, so it's not possible to toggle this on. And then you have the structure of the form itself. So for example, I can hide the title. So this part, I can hide it. Maybe I only want the description. I can make the title scroll with the fields. So right now you can see that I can scroll just the fields while the cover and the title is locked on the top of the screen. If I disable this, if I toggle this on, actually, all of the form scrolls alongside it. And this is useful when you have the cover image and when people are using this on mobile, because then you have limited screen space. So you want people to be able to move past the cover image, right? So this is useful in these kinds of situations. And you can make the title here smaller, right? So I can click this and you guys can see that this makes it smaller. Last of all, you have the width of the form content. So right now it's regular. You can see that it takes about a third of the screen, right? And I can make it larger, a little bit wider, and I can also make it super wide, which basically is the whole size of the screen, right? So maybe I want to take all of the available screen space. I can just use ultra wide. This is especially useful when you're using a lot of inline fields, right? Because right now we only have like start date and end date right next to each other. But if we had like 4 or 5 fields right next to each other, super wide would be a good option to use. So things are a bit more readable, right? But I'm going to leave it on wide for now. Okay, so these are the settings of the form itself. So now this is a internal form. So right now, the only people who can use this form are internal users, are logged users. So if you provide them with this link, with this URL, they will be able to access it if they have, if they are able to log into your Jestor account, right? But maybe you want to have a public form. So you want to have a form in your website, you want to send the form by email or something like that. So let's click here on build, and we're going to click on public app. And now all I have to do is click on share it publicly. So this is going to do two things, right? It's going to create a public link, and it's also going to give me a incorporation code, right? And embed code. So maybe you want to have this form directly into your website, not a link to go to the form. You could just copy the code and add this to your website, right? But usually you're just going to send the link to people. So I'm going to open this in a separate tab. There you go. And now you can see that this is a public form, right? So this is a link in which people don't have to be logged into your Jestor account to use, right? And you guys are going to see the difference here. I'm going to send an example. So public user. And I'm just going to add some start and end dates here. And I'm going to create the form, submit the form. And you can see that because I left the email responses toggle on, I can ask for a copy of my response here. I would get an email with all the information that I sent. But the thing that I wanted to show you guys actually is that you can see that I've created this, right? This record through the public form. And if I look at who created the form, who created the record, it's anonymous, right? So when people don't need to be logged in to use this form now because it's public, but this also means that I don't know who submitted the information, right? It's a anonymous user, right? Okay, so the last thing that we should talk about regarding the public forms is that you might have noticed that I have this top bar here with a share button. And if I go all the way down here, you have the Jestor icon here. So these are actually customizable as well. So when I create a new public link, I can go to the public app style. So I can, for example, hide the top bar, this one, and I can remove the Jestor brand. So let's click on save. And I'm just going to refresh my tab here. And you guys are going to see that the top bar was removed and I don't have the Jestor logo anymore, right? So I've removed the branding. And one last thing that I forgot to talk about is that when you create a public link, You can also send the link to people if you want to. You just have to type their email here and click on send link. But usually what you're going to do is copy the link here and send by email, or put in your website or your LinkedIn page if it's a recruiting form, for example, and so on. But as you can see, these are the stages of creating a form for creating records, right? So we have other kinds of forms, but this is more analogous to creating, for example, a Google form that is connected to a spreadsheet. Here you're creating a form that is connected to a database that you have apps connected to as well. So now, for example, you can see that I have all of those records here in the Kanban board as well. So the idea here is you should have a table, a database that you want to send information to. You create a new form, you customize with a lot of different options, the fields, the public forms, the conditionals, the styling, and so on. And then later on, if you want to, you can create a public version of the form that you can share with people that are not logged into your Jestor account. So that's the gist of it. I don't know, Mike, if you have any other things that you want to show them.
No, that's amazing. One thing that I would show, just because sometimes it's not they don't really understand how it works. We should add a background image and just show how it works with the form.
Cool.
It's a type of customization that people usually like to do, and it's you don't customize this inside the form. You customize this inside the app.
Cool. So I'm just going to. So this is the form. This is the page of the form, right? I'm going to activate the building mode, and I'm going to click on customize, and this is going to customize the page itself, right? So I'm just going to make the form smaller. There you go.
Yeah, remove the cover maybe and the gray stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to remove it. But just to show you guys that we have a background, right? It's not that the form has to take all of the screen. We had done so, but it doesn't have to be that way, and you can actually rearrange it here. So like Banak said, I'm going to remove the color, the cover, and the logo. There you go. So this is my form now. I'm also going to. I can leave the title color.
Usually, people would use the form in the center and make it white or something, and then the background picture would be just around it.
There you go. Oh, there you go. So we have the form, right? And now what we can do is click here on customize. And this is going to customize the page itself, not the form, right? And first of all, I can change the font of the app, and this is also going to affect the form, right? So maybe I want something like, let's see, this one. And you can see that it changed the font of the form itself. And I can also select a background color, right? So for example, I can change this, and you guys are going to see that this changed the background of the app itself, and the form is on top of that color, right? But one other thing that I could do is that I could take that image that I had put as a cover, and I can upload this as a background image for the form itself, for the app itself. So instead of having a solid color, I have the image on the background, right? So I can click here on save, and you can see that I have the form here. I should probably resize it, but you can see that I can have the form on top of an image. So this is a very common way of doing this, to have an image showing to the sides of the form, right? And one other thing that you can do here, let's just disable scrolling here. So the page always has the same size, right? There you go. And one other thing that you can do is now I can edit the form. Now that I have an app background image, I can also edit the form and make it blurred, kind of like transparent. Not exactly transparent, but it's going to be see-through, right? So now I can activate the background blur, and this is going to make it kind of transparent, kind of blurry, so I can see kind of see the background image, right? So this is what the form would look like. This is not an image that's very optimized for this, right? You should probably test around with different images. In this case, maybe I should have a darker color for the title here as well. Maybe like full on black, or maybe no color at all. So all I have here is the image itself. But you have some other kinds of styling here as well. So you can add the background image and make it blurred and so on. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do to try to make the form look exactly how you want it to be. So there's a lot of different options to test it out.
Yeah, and the thing here is that we give you freedom to make it as pretty or as ugly as you can. So make sure that you will use it in a way that's it's best for your company, for your process, and so on. So you can test different forms. You can have even more than one form. That's something that's interesting. For example, because Jestor centralized everything in a table, you could have 10 different forms for the same process and do like a kind of a A/B test and see if people are scheduling more meetings with the form A or B or C or D, or if you want to just make it simple, just make it one and test it. But the thing is, you have the power to just change it or add more information. Here we are just showing the form, but you can always combine the form with other blocks like videos. Sometimes there are people that they would add terms inside the form in the checkbox for I accept the term or something like this. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and we show these things on the other live sessions where we build specific solutions. So if you want to know more about how to apply forms in a specific process, go there and subscribe so you know when we are going to build something that's interesting for you. And we'll be back tomorrow with another live. So if you have any questions, requests, please just let us know, and we'll be back here tomorrow. See you.
See ya.